What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday was a pretty eventful day. We had Borderlands 3 announced. We had a Borderlands remaster announced. We find out that Bulletstorm's going to the Switch. All of this kind of packaged together in one of the strangest run live streams I've seen in a long time. A lot of issues in that live stream. Kind of makes you start to realize why Sony is doing what Nintendo's been doing with Nintendo Directs and stuff. A bit more controlled, and you have less of those glitches. We also saw apparently Monolith hiring for a new Zelda game that they're working on. A lot of stuff to go over, so we're going to get into everything now. As always, guys, enjoy these videos. Make sure you hit the like button. It does help out. And make sure you get subscribed. We're rolling towards 300,000 subscribers. It's pretty exciting. We're going to start today with Torchlight. Actually, Torchlight II, as it appears to be coming to consoles later on this year. Now, we don't know exactly which systems or a release date. However, we did at least get the announcement that it was coming over, and this was made by the publisher Perfect World Entertainment and the developer Runic Games. Now, this game came out in 2012 on PC, and I actually remember playing it myself on my PC back then. It's like an action dungeon crawler RPG style game. It's fun. I like Torchlight 2. It's interesting that they're deciding to bring it over now, like, 7 years or so later, but they're doing it. I think it'll fit the Switch really well, just because it'll probably run fine as like a handheld game. But it is coming to apparently current gen consoles, as they're saying. So we'll have to wait to see if we get a follow-up on any more information. Also, a bit of an update to the story yesterday with Wolfenstein Youngblood. We found out that Panic Button is actually the developer who's going to be porting that over, which is good news because, of course, Panic Button does a great job on their ports. We've seen them, of course, most recently do Warframe. They do have experience with Wolfenstein before, where they did, of course, New Colossus. They're doing Doom Eternal. So, yeah, they know what they're doing here. So it's good to hear that it's in familiar hands. This is actually answered on the Q&A page that popped up for Youngbloods, and it says right there, boom, Panic Button is the company porting this over. So good to see. I'll be curious to see if they can continue, I guess, building on their resume of big games they move over. Keep in mind, they actually improved their own port of Wolfenstein 2 alongside Bethesda, so I would think those improvements continue to carry over, and this could hopefully be their best port of, I guess, a Bethesda game, and then leading into, of course, Doom Eternal. So we'll see how this one turns out this summer. And we talked about that live stream bit earlier, the Gearbox one. Well, they did announce Bulletstorm in a tweet that you're seeing here. It's Bulletstorm Duke of Switch Edition. Now, Bulletstorm came over to the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and PC in 2017. That was the full clip edition. This most likely is, I guess, a port of that to the Switch. Of course, you can see Duke Nukem right on the front as Duke of Switch Edition, and according to them, in the official release details, it says the game will include the whole single-player experience in addition with all the DLC released. So good news for anyone who missed out on it. It's action-packed, it's fun. I played it, and I didn't click with it, I guess, as much as a lot of other people did, but it'll be interesting to see it running on the Switch, of course. It's an interesting game, I guess, to have as a handheld game, but hey, I guess that's something Gearbox did with the Switch, because when we get into the live stream, you'll find out they didn't really do much. And if you've been kind of on the fence about Nintendo Switch's online service, specifically paying for it, there's a bit of a deal out there for you right now if you have even Amazon Prime. In fact, if you have Amazon Prime, this is pretty much a no-brainer because it's just a couple clicks and you're in. This was actually brought up online by several people, including Wario64. This is the page, and it seems that Nintendo and Twitch are partnering to where if you have I guess a Twitch Prime or an Amazon Prime membership, you will just get free online. This apparently stacks as well, so if you already have it, you might as well go here and click through. Now, initially you'll get 3 months of Nintendo Switch Online, like straight up if you're just doing it month to month, but it does say after 60 days as Prime, following the first claim, you can then get the following 9 months. Now, of course, this is most likely to keep people from just signing up for a month, getting all the stuff, and then backing out if you get, the 12-month. So I at least understand what they're doing here, but to be honest, I wouldn't sign up for Amazon Prime to get this. I would just spend the $20 on Nintendo Online. But if you already have it, or you have your Twitch subscription, I guess, it's just a couple clicks and you're in, so you might as well do it then. Hey guys, some of the quick news out of the way. Let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with Monolith and Zelda. Now, Monolith, of course, has helped with things like Breath of the Wild, so they're not like a stranger to any Zelda games. They've developed alongside with Skyward Sword, for example, Link Between Worlds. They know what they're doing around a Zelda game, so to now hear that they are hiring to work on a Zelda game gets pretty exciting, because they, of course, after Breath of the Wild, have a a bit of a resume there with all the Zelda games. That tells us that it might be, I guess, a larger Zelda game. Now, of course, we're seeing Link's Awakening coming out later on this year. It's not like a Breath of the Wild Zelda game. A lot of us understand, I guess, the differences there. Breath of the Wild was massive. Turned out to be pretty good too, right? I mean, it's good. 90 something, 97 or so on Metacritic, 90 on Metacritic. It's pretty good. So I'm not surprised to hear that we're going to get another Zelda game, but when Monolith gets involved, that means it's probably a pretty large project, mostly because they'd be helping out. So how did this all come about? Well, people actually spotted, as you're kind of seeing on their page here, a large page that's like a recruitment page for Zelda. And it looks like, at least according to GameIndustry.biz that actually went through and also translated it, that this will be hiring programmers, designers, and technical artists to work on a new Legend of Zelda game. This is pretty exciting considering the other game that we believe that they're working on is actually part of their Xenoblade team project. So they have a team that's currently working on what we assume to be a Xenoblade game of some kind, and then the other team working on, lead developing, or helping out on a Zelda game. Now, keep in mind, we also had those rumors last year where King Zell mentioned something about Breath of the Wild for 2020. Do you remember that? We talked a bit about that, and it seemed interesting that they had talked about 2D Zelda for this year, and then something Breath of the Wild related for 2020. Now, I wonder if that means that there is a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, or if they'd be using the same engine. To me, that's more likely, because the engine and the world and everything was pretty cool, and I think they can build on that. So if they get an extra couple of years to do so, which, Breath of the Wild came out mid-2017, of course, alongside the Switch, they would have quite a bit of time then, three and a half years to work on the next Zelda game that could be a follow-up to Breath of the Wild, whether it's a spiritual successor or just a direct sequel. That's pretty exciting stuff. And the amount of people they're hiring kind of sounds to me like they're like in the thick of development and they're bringing more people on. So, I mean, get excited. Obviously, Nintendo's going to make another Zelda game, right? But to hear that they'd be making maybe a very large one with Monolith involved is pretty cool to see. So we'll find out anything else, hopefully, about this after something like Link's Awakening launches. I don't expect an E3 announcement because they want the focus to be on Link's Awakening right now. But when we get to next year, then maybe we start to see, I guess, the curtain pulled back on this one. Either way, very exciting. Next up, let's talk about Borderlands 3. This, of course, was revealed at PAX East, which is going on right now, where some of the information we're going to go over today is actually coming from, which also includes a Mortal Kombat update for the Switch. Pretty cool. But the big thing that kicked off PAX East that a lot of people attended was the Borderlands panel, where, I mean, let's face it, we knew Borderlands 3 was pretty much going to be there. It was teased to no end. So when they show up and they do this really awkward, drawn-out live stream, it was agonizing at times, but they did eventually announce Borderlands 3. I mean, they were doing, like, Randy Pitchford was showing off, like, a tabletop game. He does this 15 to 20-minute magic trick. I thought the magic trick, to be honest, was going to lead into Borderlands 3's announcement. He was trying to do the card trick, and I thought that the card that he was going to reveal was going to be a 3, and then it was going to go to the trailer behind them. Not so much, no. They also did a bunch of work with, it seemed like, smaller developers, as they are being more of a publisher as well with Gearbox. So it was pretty cool to see a lot of some indies get kind of the light there. But they did move on to Borderlands 3, and when they showed the trailer, it looked pretty good. It looked like a cleaner Borderlands, obviously, because we believe it's going to be on like the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and the PC. I say believe because they didn't give us that much information. Actually, they left out platforms, a release date. They didn't even give us a release year. They just kind of showed us a trailer that was pretty cool. It was like, 2 or 3 minutes, and then it kind of cut there. They did say 1 billion guns, which, yeah, I mean, as Borderlands is known for a lot of guns, and I'm sure Borderlands fans are super excited right now about this, and I get it, but I'd like to see a bit more about this. As long as it sticks, at least what it seemed to the Borderlands formula, people are going to really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about it, and of course finding out if it's coming out 2019, or is this a 2020 game. It's been a while since we've had a new Borderlands game, so it's exciting to see Gearbox be able to put that out there. Now, after that, well, kind of before that, but definitely while this was going on, we started to find out through some leaks, and then they showed Borderlands Remastered was taking place. So this is a thing that's actually happening next week. Yeah, weird, right? It's coming out April 3rd. So next week, you'll be able to pick it up. And that's pretty exciting because it's going to be the first Borderlands, but they're going to add some quality of life things to it, like a mini map. They're going to have 4-player split screen, all locally, and then of course they'll have like 4K textures and visuals and everything. So great to see all of that happen. But I just wanted to see a bit more about Borderlands 3. We know more about the tabletop game than we know about Borderlands 3. And to get the remaster, that's pretty neat. That's going to the PC, the PS4, and the Xbox One. No Switch. That seemed to really catch some people off guard. One of the biggest predictions was that at least Borderlands 2 would get moved to the Switch, but nothing Borderlands on the Switch. At least as we know now. Borderlands 3, again, no platforms, but based on what they did there with things like their remaster, the Borderlands 2 and everything that are getting like 4K patches on the Xbox One X system and the PS4 Pro system, it was a little weird. Now, of course, we've heard Randy Pitchford say that they were looking for something from Nintendo funding-wise to make that port happen because, I mean, it costs a bit of extra money, of course, to port to the Switch because most times you hire a porting company like a Panic Button or an Iron Galaxy, but nothing. So we'll see if maybe that's something that comes down the line. I mean, I guess there's also the off chance that Borderlands 3 could find its way to the Switch. But for now, we do know that Borderlands Remastered is coming out next week, and then Borderlands 3 information is actually coming a week later. So next week we'll find out more about Borderlands 3. I don't know why they didn't just tell us now, but look forward to next week. Next up, let's talk about Mortal Kombat 11 on the Switch now. This has been a pretty big mystery. It's out in like a month. We don't really know what it looks like or plays like or anything. We just have to guess that it's going to play well, and we kind of buy on like hope, essentially. But at PAX East, it is playable, so people have been able to play it. Here's the weird thing, though. You can't record it. They don't want anyone recording any off-screen footage with something like a phone or a camera or anything. They're able to play it in handheld mode, and we at least got some impressions. Game Explain put up a video, and Nate, Direct Feed Games, of course, on the podcast with us every weekend. I'm sure we'll talk about it this week, actually. Did get a chance to play it, had some impressions on Twitter that you're kind of seeing here. Put up a little gif of Mortal Kombat and everything as well. But quick Mortal Kombat 11 Switch impressions. Undocked plays smooth, no frame drops, visually solid, looking like a solid port. So they usually do handheld mode because it's a bit harder to tell. Obviously, if you have it on a TV, it's a bit easier to tell how everything looks. But at least it's good to hear that it's running well in undocked play, so in handheld mode. It being docked is going to be the big question. How's it going to look there? I guess people won't care as much about how it looks as opposed to how it plays because it's a fighting game. You can't have frame drops and stuff. Most people would sacrifice the visuals to have good frame rates, solid frame rates. So I'm looking forward to at least checking it out. Again, it's out in a month. You know what? We'll see if we can get an early copy here and check this game out ahead of time to tell you if it's something you should buy into or if we gotta wait for a patch. If this turns out like WWE 2K18, we're gonna have a bit of a problem there. And our last bit of news, Sega Fest is this weekend. I want to remind you guys, and I'll actually leave the link down below to a Gamatsu article that has all of the live streams that they plan to be doing and the schedule for this Sega Fest. Now, Sega Fest was held, of course, last year, and that's where we found out about all kinds of stuff, actually. Remember we had that Sega Genesis Mini shown off there. We had the Shenmue collection that we ended up getting later on that year, and it looks like we might have some more Sega Ages stuff because we had that last year as well. So if I had to look at this and take a guess, I feel like we're going to find out a bit more, an update of some kind after they dropped At Games, by the way, for their Genesis/Mega Drive Mini because they kind of showed it off a bit, but then they've pulled back from At Games. So I feel like they want to have some more confidence there and show it. I'm looking forward to that. Maybe something revived. We know, of course, they're going to do something with Sakura Wars. They talked about that a little bit. It's been put out there now. So I'm expecting maybe something to get a bit of a resurgence, like the Panzer Dragoon remastered apparently is happening. But you never know with Sega Ages. They could drop those Dreamcast games on us, guys. You never know. Dreamcast has been a heavily requested thing for their Sega Ages stuff on the Switch. So if they come out with Sega Ages and it's new and it's something cool like a new system like a Dreamcast, that'd be awesome. Saturn would be neat, but I think something like Dreamcast, like a Jet Set Radio or a Crazy Taxi is most likely if they want to get crazy. Either way, make sure you look forward to Sega Fest. If you miss it, we'll be talking about it here Monday morning on Newswave. And guys, that's going to do it here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like the video if you liked it, dislike it. If not, let me know what you think about everything we talked about today, whether it is Borderlands 3. Maybe you're excited about that, or maybe you're excited to go back to the original one with the remaster and try that out. maybe you're disappointed that the only thing they had for Switch owners was Bulletstorm, but hey, you never know. We'll see kind of going forward. And then what about that Zelda game that's being worked on by Monolith? What do you think we have going on there? Is this a 2020 spiritual successor or full-on sequel even to Breath of the Wild, or is it something brand new that has nothing to do with Breath of the Wild at all? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.